Hello everyone and welcome to Wimbledon Unfiltered with me, Nick Kyrgios, presented by talkSPORT and Good Trouble. We've had a couple of days off. My friend Gordon Smart was in Saint-Tropez. Gordon, it's good to see you again. How's your trip?
Nick. Yeah, it was very well behaved, Nick.
I don't believe that for a second. That's why you're on the show.
Good Trouble, Nick Kyrgios. What about you? Sensible, well behaved?
Yeah, it was actually good. Didn't even leave my house after 9:30 one night on the weekend. Got some training in. Felt good.
That's what I like about you, right? That's the sign of pure good trouble. You go out in the week and stay in at the weekend. That's a professional.
My team set a curfew for me, so I had to obey the rules.
You stuck to it.
Yeah.
Excellent. Good to see you, man. We're
too.
stuck. Second week. Getting stuck right back in for our second week. Make sure you subscribe and like Good Trouble on YouTube and also talkSPORT's YouTube page. Big week ahead. Some great guests lined up as well, Nick. But there's loads to talk about. I mean, we'll get to the weekend in a second that was just passed, but Djokovic has just played. We just watched the end of that match, and I immediately said to you, what happened in the first set?
Yeah, I mean, that's Djokovic, right? Like, the Grand Slam format, you know that he's going to have, a bit of a slow start, especially at 38. How can you expect him to always come out with the engine, firing? And, today he had a tough opponent, Alex de Minaur right in his prime. And this is where the scoring of the best of 5 sets, kind of doesn't help these other players. If it's best of 3 sets before the quarterfinals, Alex de Minaur goes out there, wins the set 6-1 against Novak Djokovic, who's never lost a set that bad at Wimbledon ever.
So that's the first time he's had a 6-1.
Or 6-0 or 6-1 ever in his career at Wimbledon. So if it's best of 3 sets, the alarm bells are ringing for Novak, and in 30 minutes the game could be over. But as we all know, he's defeating time and somehow gets through and then wins 6-4, 6-4, 6-4 in the next 3 sets. So he's incredible.
But I'm sure you said to me last week, though, there are sometimes in a set where you think, right, this is gone.
Yep.
Just let it go. Did he do that really early on, or did he genuinely just...
Yeah, he was down a double break, and he kind of just let the set go because he knows in the back of his mind if he just gets rid of that set, he's got so much more wiggle room to go. But as I said, it's never easy to just turn the tap on and be like, look, let's just get rid of that set, lock in and dial in and win the next 3. That's why he's the greatest of all time. But again, beating, these young guys are in their prime. Alex de Minaur's 20, 26, 27 years old. Probably the fastest guy on tour, and Novak's just getting through.
So I think this is fascinating. So you would make it 3 sets in every major, right?
Up until the quarterfinals.
Right,
and then it's best of 5. Yeah.
Right, yeah.
I mean, usually the best player does come through. But again, like today, this would be, Novak, the first set only went for like 30 minutes. Yeah. So then it's, the center court knows that Novak's back against the wall. Anything can happen.
Yeah.
And, I think it'd be way more exciting.
I suppose you get more games in a day as well. More matches in a day.
It would fix the scheduling issues. Yeah. As we know, Wimbledon, there's been a couple issues already this tournament with matches kind of stopping because of light. And that would all end as well.
What about de Minaur? Like, after you've had that amazing victory in a set, to get battered in the next 2 sets like that must have been pretty crushing for him.
Yeah, I mean, de Minaur he's the fastest guy on tour, and he's our best Australian player. He has been now for the last couple of years. He's an incredible player. But they got a bit of bad blood. They had a bit of bad blood before Novak and de Minaur, and when they play, it's always fireworks. But today it was calmer, and Novak did steady the ship. But look, de Minaur's going to be a player now for the next 5-7 years. It's going to hover around the top 10 and always be knocking on the door for a Grand Slam. So, I mean, props to him, but never easy beating Novak on arguably his most successful court of his career.
To balance it up as well, by the way, we mentioned 6-0 and 6-1, but 100 wins at Wimbledon.
Yeah, ridiculous.
In terms of a milestone in tennis, I mean, there'll only be a handful of people that will ever come close to that. Surely.
Well, let me just put it like this. Grigor Dimitrov is probably one of tennis's most solid, consistent players over the last 10 to 15 years, and he only has 100 career Grand Slam wins. And Novak just has 100 at Wimbledon. So he almost has 100 at every Grand Slam, Novak. So that just shows really how dominant he has been in our sport. And not just in tennis. Like, we're talking about a guy who's probably knocking on the door of the greatest athlete in any sport. Nearly 100 Grand Slam wins at every Grand Slam is absolutely ridiculous.
Try to think of other records like that. Cristiano Ronaldo and 1,000 goals. Yeah. Could be one.
Yeah, I mean, for sure.
Same sort of level,
these guys are... I love it how we still give and we still critique Novak's game, and then it's just human nature. We did it for Federer, we did it for Rafa, and not until these guys actually retire that we're like, wow, we maybe should have not taken them for granted. But
So when I was away at the weekend, you crossed my mind a number of times, Nick, for a number of reasons, as I was enjoying myself. But one thing did cross my mind about the line called technology failure, because I thought Nick will be boiling, right? Because that's, I mean, what's your take on it?
I mean, it's amateur, to be honest, in my opinion. Well, not in my opinion. I think everyone that knows tennis and understands, these players are working their entire lives and they're playing for, essentially millions of dollars. And for the umpire to just decide to turn off the electronic line calls for 3 points.
How did that happen? Explain this to me. It was a cartel match, right?
Yeah, it was the Cartel versus Pavlyuchenkova match. And, Pavlyuchenkova luckily still won the set and ended up winning the match. But what happens if, she lost that game, actually, and she was, arguing to the umpire saying, you essentially stole that game off me. The ball was about six inches out or 4 inches out. So, it's just amateur in my opinion, and I just don't think it's good enough. And the umpire to just say, it was a malfunction, I turned it off. It's just not good enough. And
we talked about this last week, didn't we?
I knew something like this was going to happen, but this also raises the questions: has it always been working? Has there been other times in other matches or Grand Slam finals, or have I been a part of matches where the Hawkeye hasn't been working? So it is going to raise a lot of eyebrows for the rest of the tournament. And this is why I thought Wimbledon should just keep the traditions of having line umpires, having challenges, keeping the rich tennis traditions that it's always had. But maybe they did rush it. Maybe they wanted to be like every other tournament. But again, 148 years with line umpires. Maybe they should have waited for the 150 big anniversary to do it.
I'm going to push you on this as well, Nick, because if that had been you, right, and you're playing...
the rackets would have gone over the fence.
But not just that as well. Would you have felt in a position where you have to challenge that legally, for instance? Because there's a lot of money at stake, but also your ratings, all of that's affected, right?
Well, the ratings would have gone up because I would have had an absolute worldwide dummy spat. So, everyone would have been watching that for sure. But, look, like, Pavlyuchenkova gets through. But, that first set is massive. She loses that first set. More than 90% of players would probably have a meltdown mentally. And look, the tournament has to do better. Especially, this is our best tournament in the world. Like, this is the best of the best. And if that's happening here, it's probably happening everywhere.
Again, when this happens, it leaves that kind of cynicism open, right?
Look, the one thing that really bothers me, it's always tennis that has these kind of like issues with like replays or, line umpires. It's always just tennis. You rarely see it anywhere else. But
see, when you see other players, do you talk about this? Has this been mentioned to anybody else you talk to?
Not really.
Right.
I spoke to it within my team, but I'm sure it would be. It's been a big talking point in the tennis world for sure.
Again, briefly looking back at the weekend, Cam Norrie. Again, we mentioned him a lot last week. Interesting time for him, isn't it?
Yeah, I think Cam is probably one of the most underrated players on tour in a Grand Slam. I think he's a veteran now of the tour. He's been playing for almost 10 years. On the top 50, and I feel like he's very underappreciated in a Grand Slam. Again makes the quarterfinals. He's played semifinals here. He's a tough competitor, and to be 2 sets to love up, and then get back to 2 sets all. You're having a lot of internal thoughts and internal dialogue with yourself. This is where tennis is a brutal sport. It's like I think he had a match point in the 4th set, and all of a sudden you're out there for another hour and a half. And, the crowd's like kind of getting a bit eerie. It's like, okay, you're going to win or you're going to get beaten from 2 sets to love up. And then he somehow digs it out and he makes another quarterfinals. And he's underappreciated in my, British tennis. He's been solid now and makes runs at Grand Slams. And when you get this far in a tournament, anything really can happen. You're feeling yourself, you're feeling confident in your game. And nothing's easy now. So
What about the ball bouncing? What about the ball bouncing?
Yeah, I think it's 22 bounces or something, but that's nothing to Djokovic's. I think Djokovic had like 60 or 55, 58 bounces one time in his prime. Like he was like, there's the clip of it. It's hilarious.
Jarry was impersonating him at one point, wasn't he?
Yeah, I don't know if Jarry has the grounds to kind of complain about it, but like, what I'm saying is like, when you played prime Rafa, the time between first and second serves almost makes you cold in between points.
Wow.
So 22 bounces isn't too bad. Cam, I don't care. Take as long as you want. Cam's a good guy.
Right, I hope I'm not breaking any confidence, but I'm going to do it anyway. I think you might be having a knock with Raducanu tomorrow, am I right?
Yeah, we're having a practice session at 12 p.m. At the LTA. She reached out to me, and I think, I think we've gone actually back and forth before.
Yeah.
Just about some tactics and all that type of stuff. So it'll be fun to get out there and have a hit. But yeah, she went down in an insane. I actually called it. I knew that it was going to be a battle.
You did, yeah.
I did call that Sabalenka was probably going to tough it out, just because she's a hell of a competitor. I actually watched that match. I think one thing that I didn't really recognize in Sabalenka's game is how much of a dog she is competitively. Like she was down.
She can grind it out.
Yeah, but she was down 4-1 in the second set, or 4-1 I'm pretty sure, and she got back and she wins 6-4, and she's such a good competitor. Like she's got all the weapons. She's got the game. She's got the serve. But I think no one really understands like how badly she wants it and how badly she competes. And I was just really impressed, and I was watching with my whole team. And props to Raducanu though, you know, all the outside noise that she's been dealing with too for the last 6 to 12 months about, you know, where her tennis is. You know, obviously she's not going to finish this tournament British #1, but to go out against Sabalenka and have a battle and have set points like that, like she did in the first set, I mean, she should be nothing but proud.
That was some reception she walked off to as well, with a smile on her face, which doesn't happen after a punishing defeat, right?
Of course, but also like you feel good about your game, and you know where you are at game style wise if you can win a Grand Slam, like or you can beat the best in the world. Like if she couldn't beat Sabalenka, she would have lost, you know, 2-2. She would have walked off the court to her team and said, look, like, I know that I don't have it anymore. I can't compete. But to lose 6-4 and have set points and put yourself in that position, you have something to build towards. And I genuinely think that she can make another run at a slam. Whether or not she can win one, I'm not sure. But she definitely can beat these bigger players on the bigger stage.
Before you came on, you told me a great stat about, is this the first time in a number of years that there's a new name going on the trophy?
Yeah, I think 2017 was the last time. So we're going to have a new women's champion this time since 2017 when Muguruza won it. Which is exciting, and this is what I was saying with the women's game. It's a bit more open now, and I think Sabalenka knows now there's only so many top seeds left in the draw, and the way she's playing and her section of the draw, she knows that she just keep having to lock in and do the right things, and you know, maybe it's her time to raise that trophy. But you know, right now I think Sabalenka's the favourite.
Good for women's tennis as well.
Oh, 100%. You know, every time you got a new winner, it's exciting, and it's kind of like a new era. Like we're watching Andreeva play, and she's like, I think she's like 17 or 18 years old. Like this is where I think in the women's game now we're definitely seeing a little bit of, you know, the changing of not the guard, but like just some new women's champions.
Right, Ben Shelton, interesting story. You know, he's lucky charms, superstitions, whatever you want to call it. His sister appears to have got some extra time off work. He put a request in because she's the lucky charm, working out well for him. Have you ever used the Kyrgios name to get a little favour?
I mean, I can't even get into the Wimbledon grounds at the moment. I'm getting body searched. I can't even get my credential. I mean, good on him. Like, I mean, he's worked really hard and honestly, like, he top 10. If you see it at 10, I mean, fair enough. I do agree with it. I'm not sure I think he would have asked pretty politely as well. He would have been like, you know, I need my sister there, whatever. But I mean, I don't know if it's working right now. I think he was down a set against Sonego, but he's in a big battle. So I hope that lucky charm's working. But I mean, look,
what's the best thing the Kyrgios name has brought to you, to your mates?
Usually think it makes things a bit harder.
Does it? Yeah, you're the opposite.
Usually it does make things a bit hard. It's like, oh, Kyrgios is coming. Okay, we're going to make it as hard as possible for him and his family to get in. But yeah, look, I mean, look, the lucky charm's working. 2 sets to 1, up a break. So maybe he needs his sister around more often.
Well, we're on, Nick Kyrgios, the path of most resistance. That's what we're going to call you.
I mean, like, I couldn't even get my credential.
Right. I heard another little thing. You were talking about Sabalenka there, right? And again, I love listening to you talk about format changes and, you know, making the game slightly different. But is there a battle of the sexes thing that I've heard about that could be quite an interesting development? Yeah,
Sabalenka and I are thinking about doing a battle of the sexes later in the year, where the court is going to be slightly smaller for me. With one serve, and like UTS is an event where I believe it's like the modern day tennis of how tennis should be.
Yeah.
So we're going to do it on a smaller court. I'm playing in slightly smaller than the usual tennis court, and
so your end will be standard size.
Yes.
But hers would be shrunk.
Just
how
slightly.
Much?
Just slightly. So we get one serve, and we're thinking about doing it later in the year in Hong Kong. So this is going to be something that's I'm really nervous for it, to be honest, because she's in her absolute prime right now, and she's getting the wooden legs of me. But I'm still feeling confident that I get her.
But the drop shot is your friend.
The drop shot is my friend. I think I've still got enough variation and enough talent in the tank to take Sabalenka. But I mean, she's fierce, and you know, I'm feeling nerves right now.
She'd be up for it, though, wouldn't she?
She would be. I know she would be. But yeah, I think you know, that's something that we're both up to doing. I think we're very close. And yeah, I'm excited for it.
I'm trying to run my mind how this would play, right? So how much different would that be for you on a return of serve, for example?
Well, return of serve will be different, but we only have one serve each as well.
Right.
So our strengths are kind of neutralized a little bit.
Yeah.
So I don't want to give too much of my game plan away.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like,
give it to yourself. It's serious.
Because I know what she's going to be like. She's going to be super competitive, and she's going to go out there strongly believing. Because I know her personality. Like, she genuinely is going to go out there and think that I'm going to put Nick Kyrgios' face in the ground. So I'm not going to do too much. Like, I'm not going to give too much of my game. I know her weaknesses. I'm coming.
But you're certainly not going to give her any kind of chance at all.
Absolutely not.
No, correct.
Are you joking?
Yeah.
Absolutely
No,
not.
absolutely not. Right, heroes and villains of the day then, Nick. What are you thinking today?
I mean, heroes of the day. I guess my hero of the day is Djokovic.
Yeah.
You know, this had all the ingredients for an upset. I think, you know, Alex de Minaur beat him earlier in the year in Australia, not at the Australian Open, but got his first win over Novak, probably playing on his best surface, and Novak somehow comes out and proves to everyone in the world that this might be the year that, you know, he's probably hearing all the noise as well that can anyone really beat Sinner and Alcaraz? And he's probably thinking like, are you guys serious? You've already forgot about me, the greatest of all time. So I think that he's feeling like a bit of the hero, like, hey guys, I'm still here. I'm still, you know, feeling good. I'm still beating guys like
Picking up
Alex de
records
Minaur.
along the way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I feel like, you know, he's the hero of the day for sure. And my villain of the day is who's my villain of the day? I think my villain of the day, I mean, for yesterday is probably Pavlyuchenkova. Like, you took out Cartel, who was, you know, had all the Brits behind her, had the nation, and then Pavlyuchenkova as well. With the, she not only did Cartel got a free game, but then Pavlyuchenkova still won the match. So, I mean, you are the villain.
Good shout. Right, quarterfinals then. Give us your picks, Nick, for what's going to happen next.
Well, Fritz and Kachanov's an interesting one.
Yeah.
Kachanov always seems to float around and get to the business end of these Grand Slams. You know, but Taylor Fritz has really, really impressed me, to be honest. He had probably one of the most brutal draws of the Wimbledon. Out of any of the seeded players, and he somehow finds himself in the quarterfinals. Probably one of the best grass court players we have in the world. So I'll probably take Fritz in a 4 or 5 setter.
Alcaraz Norrie's the other one.
Alcaraz Norrie's, I mean, the bookies and everyone will tell you that Alcaraz is probably heavy favourite.
Yeah.
But Norrie's got a win against him. Norrie's played some super competitive matches against Alcaraz as well, even the matches that he's lost. I genuinely do think that Norrie could win. Like, deep in my tennis archives, I do feel like Norrie has the tools and the ability to beat Alcaraz. I don't think Alcaraz has actually looked incredible this tournament. He's been getting through purely because of how good he is and his talent, and he's starting to have that aura where even if you take the court against Alcaraz, they don't really believe that you can beat him. But I do think Norrie probably feels that he can.
Yep.
So I'll slightly, I don't think I'm calling the upset. I think I might take Alcaraz in like a 5-setter, 4 or 5-setter, or he might just come out and play the best tennis of his life. I don't know with this kid.
Yeah. It's the beauty of it, though, isn't it?
Yeah, but this kid's like as unpredictable as me. So maybe not as unpredictable as me, but sometimes he can come out and play like absolutely like flames, and then sometimes he can just be a roller coaster.
Yep. And then Sabalenka's playing as well, isn't she?
Yeah, I think Sabalenka is going to run through Siegmund. Siegmund's you know, a bit older. You know, this is already I know the mindset that she's probably thinking like, look, I've had a great couple of weeks, you know, making the quarterfinals of a Grand Slam. She's older. She's definitely a lot older comparatively to the other players. She's going to go out there and mix it up completely. I already know as a coach and tactic-wise what she's going to try. She knows that she can't play a normal style of tennis to beat Sabalenka. She's going to drop shot. She's going to slice. She's going to come forward. And I think Sabalenka is just too well equipped, to be honest, and her eyes are set on the silverware. So
yeah, she's in good shape for it. Right, Nick. Questions from the viewers, and again, if you'd like to leave one, please do in the comment section below on YouTube. And here are a couple from our viewers. Right, thoughts on ticket prices for Wimbledon and tennis in general? Are people being priced out, and consequently young people aren't as interested in playing? What would you say to those questions?
Well, young people not as interested in playing because of the ticket prices, or just in general?
I think the question is about ticket prices, really. So,
well, I mean, look,
if it was cheaper, would more young people come and watch?
I don't think that young people and the ticket prices are linked to wanting to play tennis. I feel like the reputation and the feel around tennis is a bit pretentious, and it's not a very accessible sport, to be honest. Like I know more young players are looking to go down the route of playing paddle and pickle. You know, you look at tennis, it's a very expensive sport. You break strings. It costs money every time. Costs new tennis balls, new shoes. Like, gear is not, you know, to book a court's not cheap. So I understand why kids just want to go pick up a paddle that they never have to change for years, the balls, and go down to a smaller court where they don't have to be super fit to move on a tennis court. So I think that's the reason why, you know, young people may not want to be going to tennis. They don't see it as a cool sport either. You know, you look at some of these other sports, you know, football, basketball, they got personalities, they got, you know, players that I feel like they can relate to also. So I think that's why maybe younger people aren't coming towards tennis. But
not
ticket prices, I mean, I can't really give that answer. Comparatively to the other Grand Slams, I'm not sure where it sits, but I just know the pints are too expensive. That's why I don't say that much. But I mean, I'm not too sure about ticket prices.
When was the last time you paid for a ticket to see sport?
Mate, I can't even get into the ground.
No.
I can't even get into the ground.
What about another basketball? Did you pay to go and see a basketball game?
I haven't paid for a basketball ticket for a while, but I mean, I'm a massive basketball fan. So I mean, you'd think
you've got contacts.
Yeah, I guess so.
Got contacts. Right, Mark says, outside of tennis, where do you enjoy using your height the most? And he gives you examples here, right? Gigs, reaching shelves. Where's your height been an advantage?
Look, it's actually helped me with the women. I'm not going to lie. I'm actually not going to lie.
Really?
Like, I mean, that's the first thing they notice.
Yeah.
I'm not. Oh, sorry, Gordon. Actually, you're quite tall.
I'm not a giant.
No, but it's helped my tennis career.
Yeah.
Honestly, because I don't have. I'm not the best mover on court. I'm not like Alcaraz and Sinner. I'm not fast out of corners. It's definitely helped me with my serve. So I'd say athletically it's helped me because I was a short and pretty stocky kid, and I was fat. I was overweight. So lucky I had a growth spurt because I don't think I would have been a tennis player I would be.
Excellent stuff. I think the answers the second part of that will help you with the first part of it as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Good man. Right, another viewer's question for you, Nick. What's the weirdest tradition that you've encountered at Wimbledon?
Well, I guess, look, this is my 13th or 14th time at Wimbledon. So I guess when I was a junior, I played Wimbledon juniors here. So I would have been 15 years old, 15, 16 years old. So I guess Wimbledon couldn't be any different to where I grew up in Canberra. Canberra's a bit of a ratchet, kind of rough, kind of bogany type of place. As we call bogans in Australia, it's a bit loose. Right. So when I first walked into Wimbledon, it was different. Just with the suit and ties, the strawberries and cream, just everything, the Pims, it was a bit, I was like, this place is, it's full on. Yeah. This is, that whole tradition of Wimbledon, and for me, I literally played on concrete, cracked courts, pavement when I grew up, and then I, walked into Wimbledon, and I was like, this is just, even the Wimbledon court.
But that's the thing, we talked about this, boxers in their silk pajamas, right? When you've grown up with that, I think it forges a great player, learning like that. But then suddenly you have the trappings of fame and wealth. Does it take an edge off?
Yeah, it does for sure. I mean, look, my game was single-handedly molded because of the courts that I played on. We couldn't rally on them. So you had to hit a big serve and you had to finish the point quick, because if someone else hit a crack on the court, there was no returning it. So I feel like my whole game was molded on playing big and taking the risk. So I wouldn't change it for the world. But yeah, I think the whole tradition of Wimbledon was just, it took me all by surprise.
That's so interesting, by the way. So is there a particular shot in tennis that is a sign? You mentioned your serve, but is there anything else that's a sign of playing on those concrete courts?
Well, just sometimes, I guess commentators and coaches and players have been like, oh, he's got no patience, or, he's always looking for a way out, or trying to play too aggressive under pressure. And it's under pressure, I think rarely players, they go into their shell rather than, going and swinging from the hips, where me, I usually just go for it under pressure. And sometimes it's worked, sometimes it doesn't, but that's just how I remember. I guess it's all the habits of me growing up on these courts, that it's that's just, I don't want to rally. I just want to go, if I can feel I can hit a winner, I can hit a winner.
Nick, tomorrow I mentioned you're hitting with Emma Raducanu.
Yes.
What about the rest of the day? Dog and Fox tonight or Monday?
No. I made a promise that I'm staying in for the rest of the week. I'm really locking into the second week of Wimbledon. I mean, I love, actually nothing better than second week of Wimbledon when you just sit back with some food and watch these quality matches. Honestly, as a student of the game, I do really enjoy watching these matches.
Excellent stuff. Apart from the rat party on Friday when we're going to go out.
Yeah, that's different.
That's different. We will go out. Right, Nick, brilliant stuff. I'll see you back tomorrow.
Sounds good.
Another busy day. Come and join us. Wimbledon Unfiltered with Good Trouble and talkSPORT. Look up the YouTube pages. Leave us a like and give us a comment for a question for Nick. See you tomorrow.